Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's ride!
Welcome in. Another edition of After Further Review. Musso in for Moscona. It's Tuesday. Welcome back from a Memorial Day weekend presented by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Jordan Kitchens, Paul O'Neill along for the ride, and we are glad to have you along for the ride here today as well. Jam-packed Tuesday show as, well, there's a lot to talk about after being out of here for 3 days. SEC spring meetings in Destin. That's where we'll begin here momentarily. Shea Dixon at 3:15, his normal spot. Massive official visitor weekend out at LSU. Pels introduced Jamal Mosley today. Andrew Lopez will stop by in the 4 o'clock hour, kind of react to that. And the New Orleans Saints, they're on the practice field Wednesday for the start of OTAs. Ross Jackson, LouisianaSports.net. He'll be around there. It's officially now the LSU baseball offseason now that the tournament bracket has been announced. So couple different things I want to dive into there. Just a ton to get to here on today's AFR. So glad you're along with us, and we'll go ahead and begin as we do every single day.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
All right, and we'll begin in Destin. Oh, I wish we were actually in Destin. But we'll begin in Destin with the SEC spring meetings. Greg Sankey took his turn at the podium on Monday on Memorial Day. He said a lot of the same stuff when talking about the college football playoff, 16. He's not opposed to 24, wants to gather information. They have contracts, so he's committed to the SEC championship game. All of those different things that he's been saying really for the better part of a year, but especially the last few months here as he's kind of made his rounds. So nothing really groundbreaking there. He held pretty steady. But y'all, there have been some bangers of quotes coming out of SEC spring meetings, specifically here today. Let's start with Mike Elko, kind of keep it on the playoff expansion part of this. So Mike Elko took his turns at SEC spring meetings in front of the media at the podium, also in a breakaway session in the hallway. And I looked for this quote in full audio. I could not find the full thing in audio, so I'll just read it. Mike Elko was asked about college football playoff expansion. He said, quote, "I don't know why you ask us. It doesn't matter what we think. I don't know why we're trying to become a trophy sport. What does Mike Elko want? 40. Then I won't get fired. We don't have to find a number that allows everyone to get in. It's okay for it to be hard to get into the playoff. None of us are answering for the good of the sport. We are answering for the good of ourselves." I know Mike Elko coaches the Texas A&M Aggies. I know most everybody listening to this show and here in Baton Rouge doesn't really like the Texas A&M Aggies. But how about a freaking round of applause for Mike Elko? Clap it up for Mike Elko because he finally had the stones to say, I don't really want to say the quiet part out loud, just the part that we already know that no one else will say out loud. He had the gall to say it into a microphone on the record. None of us are answering for the good of the sport. We are all answering for the good of ourselves. And look, I understand right there. He's talking about the coaches. He quipped as well. He's like, the ADs don't ask us what we think. Paraphrasing there. He's like, our input doesn't actually matter. So why do you ask us? But in doing that and in answering it the way that he did and in punctuating the quote the way that he did, he is the only person who has sat there and said, it's not for the good of the game. It's not for the competitive advantage. It's not for any of that. It's not for fairness. It's for the good of everybody involved, money, revenue, financials, all of that. That's what it's about. We all know that, yet no one will ever say it. Mike Elko said it. Bravo to Mike Elko for that. Finally, just some truth, right? And the truth shall set you free. And look, I don't need to sit here and have an entire debate on college football playoff expansion. I'll give you my thoughts on it. Very Cliff Note abbreviated. I think 16's the number. Like, if you want my opinion, I think 16 is the number. I think that would be awesome. It would get more teams involved. It could accomplish a lot of different things. However, I understand that at some point it's going to go to 24. So just go to 24. You're like, just do it. Like, that's where I'm at. I think 16 would be great. It's never going to stay there. It's going to go to 24. Just move it to 24. Save me the conversation about devaluing the regular season. I don't care because that goes both ways. Yes, some games will become less impactful. See Texas A&M, Texas from a year ago. Both of those teams would already be in. A&M would have been pretty much guaranteed a first-round bye. That game would not have been nearly as meaningful. But on the flip side, you'll also have other games, that will be meaningful on the opposite end. You had that this past year. The A&M Texas game was very meaningful for the college football playoff in the 12-team race. It cost A&M, a potential chance there at a bye. Texas was trying to fight to get in. Ultimately, they get left out. Okay, that's fine. Indiana played. I don't even know who Indiana played. It didn't matter. Indiana was in the final weekend of the regular season. Like, they were in. So it goes both ways. That's going to happen, but so I don't really care about that. More teams are going to be involved one way or the other, regardless of if you expand, trophy sport, all those things, participation award, fine, whatever. It's going to go to 24, so just get it there. Does it feel rushed? Probably, but it's going to go there for all the reasons that Mike Elko just said. For the good of themselves, for the good of the conferences. It's why Greg Sankey's holding it up. He's holding it up because he's trying to look out for the best interest of his league, which is his job as commissioner. No matter what coaches in his league or athletic administrators in his league say they want right now, his job is to look out for the SEC, and that's what he believes he's doing. And that's why you have all this argument, and it's revenue. They want revenue opportunities, new revenue streams in this era of college athletics. We all understand it, and it's going to get there. I just love Mike Elko for freaking saying it today. So hats off to him. Now, the other quote that's made a lot of headlines, especially here, is what John Sumrall had to say. John Sumrall, coach of Florida, former coach of the Tulane Green Wave. And I think we all like John Sumrall a lot. Many people would have been ecstatic if he got the LSU job. You can count me in that. I love the way John Sumrall handles himself. But today at spring meetings, when he was talking to the media, he was asked, if Tulane had not allowed him to coach the college football playoff while taking the Florida job, what would he have done? Which is a unnecessary question to kind of begin with. That's not really relevant to any of this. And part of the reason why is because that was never going to happen. But John Sumrall says, quote, "I would have stayed at Tulane and not taken another job." He continued, "We were playing for a championship. That's not a shot at anybody." Okay, so two things here. I don't want to call John Sumrall a liar. But I am going to sit here and just flatly tell you that I don't believe him on either of those two things. Number one, it absolutely was a shot at Lane Kiffin. If it wasn't, you would not have said, hey, that's not a shot at anybody. That just kind of further emphasizes that, yeah, I'm taking a shot here. And also, you could say you would have stayed at Tulane and not taken another job, but there's just no way he actually believes himself when he says that. If the Florida Gators would have came to John Sumrall and said, hey, here's our offer, here's the job. We want you to be our head coach, but you can't coach Tulane in the playoff. We need you here, portals open and all that stuff. He's taking the Florida job. Okay, he's doing that. Because Florida's objectively a better job than Tulane. It is in the SEC. It is everything that you went to Tulane for was to get that job. So that's just, I don't believe him. And the other thing is, really the kind of burying the lead of that is, this never would have happened. Leaving a group of 5 school or a group of 6 school to take a Power 4 job is not the same thing as leaving for a conference rival when you're on the precipice of a playoff. I hate to even have to rehash this. We all understand why Lane Kiffin was not allowed to coach Ole Miss in the college football playoff. Like, we all understand the optics of that, tampering, all of those things. Florida brought in 28 transfers to prove to you this is just not the same thing. Florida brought in 28 transfers. 2 of them came from Tulane, and they were the kicker and the punter. It's not a shot at Tulane. Look at me. I'm doing the John Summerall thing. It just is what it is. The two situations are not apples to apples. That's why I look at the question in general. I'm like, you're looking for a quote like the one he gave you. But John Summerall he would absolutely have taken the Florida job, even if they said, you can't coach. Tulane did not have a realistic shot at making a run in the college football play. It's the same reason that Bob Chesney got to coach James Madison before going to UCLA. Like, you're Bob Chesney. You're not leaving UCLA. You're John Summerall leaving Tulane. You're not Lane Kiffin leaving Ole Miss. Those things are not the same. And I think we all understand that. That is a wild quote. Like, that's a wild quote to me that John Summerall put out there today. I would have stayed at Tulane. I wouldn't have taken another job. Come on, man. I don't believe that, John Summerall. Neither do you. You don't believe that either. I won't call you a liar, but I can sit here and say, I don't believe you. We'll keep updating throughout SEC spring. Keep updating throughout the show with news out of SEC spring football, spring meetings, I should say. It is, it's been a fast and furious 2 days out there in Destin. I'm sure we'll head out there at some point this week as well and get the lay of the land. Right now, we got to grab a break. We'll come back on the other side. Massive official visitor weekend at LSU. Summer is here, y'all, and that means the recruiting trail heats up. Shea Dixon on 3 the Bengal Tiger. He's here next to break it all down.
AFR.
Brought to you by Glow Resources. If you are a business owner, if you're an HR manager, a VP, an ops manager, if you're the person in charge of hiring at your job, at your place of business, and you're having trouble finding the right people, you need Glow Resources. And I want to remind you, Glow Resources, they're exceptional when it comes to skilled blue-collar workers and also white-collar divisions. Remember, Glow Resources has a full professional placement division. So we're talking about office administrators, executive-level assistants, assistant controllers, plant managers, scheduling assistants, basically any type of office job. Accounting, HR, marketing, managerial, supervisor roles. If you're having trouble finding those people and sometimes hard to fill roles, Glow Resources specialize. They recruit nationwide. For example, they had a Baton Rouge company that was looking for an engineer. They found the employee in Florida to work the job in California. It's Glow Resources. Check them out online today. glowresources.com.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and we do shutters too.
Tuesday edition of After Further Review, presented by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Musso in for Moscona. Summer is here, which means the recruiting trail is heating up. Big official visitor weekends coming up. The first this weekend for LSU football. Multiple 5-stars on campus. Shea Dixon on 3 the Bengal Tiger. Get him on Twitter at Shea Dixon. Joins us every week here on Tuesday, and he's with us now. Shea, we appreciate it. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Moose?
I'm doing fantastic, man. This is the fun part of the recruiting calendar right here, and there's a lot to
Oh, I thought you were going to say this is the fun part of working for Matt is when he goes on vacation, you get to step on the mic.
I mean, yeah, no, that part's good too. But what makes that even better, Shea, is when, you have official visitor weekend after official visitor weekend, and I get to talk to you on the show when I step up to the mic. So that's the best part of this. There's a lot I want to get into with you. Let's start, though, with the official visitors and one of the 5-stars, Easton Royal, of course, #1 wide receiver, Brother Martin. Everybody kind of knows that. It seems like he's been on LSU's campus, every weekend for the past month and a half, but I know that's not necessarily the case. This is finally official for Easton Royal. What can you tell us the latest there?
Yeah, #1 receiver in the entire country. And look, when you hire a guy like Ed Orgeron to just assist in recruiting like Lane Kiffin did, it starts in Louisiana, and it's going to start with players like this. I mean, you look around the state, a 5-stars committed in Ahmad Hudson. Here in Baton Rouge, obviously, Elijah Haven's a 5-star. He's going to Bama. LSU's got their quarterback in Peyton Houston up in North Louisiana at Evangel. They're both top 10 quarterbacks. And then the only two other, that's a lot of 5-stars. There's two more that are uncommitted. Albert Simeon, the O-lineman, and here we go with Easton Royal, the wide receiver, number 1 in the country on Rivals. Number 4 overall player on Rivals, regardless of position. So we're talking about a kid, Moose, that he's a shade under 6 foot, but he's 200 pounds. And he ran a 10.17. I think it was plus maybe 1.5. But to even touch that in the rain at LHSA State Track Meet in the shadows of Tiger Stadium just a couple of weeks ago, this is a guy who dominates Friday nights, high level football at Brother Martin, and then can do that. I mean, he'd be playing basketball nonstop too if he had the time for everything. But this is we talk about it, Malik, Justin Jefferson, Chase, those guys come through Louisiana once every few years that are no doubt, hey, look, if they stay on the right track and develop NFL players, and that is Easton Royal. And I still say the strategic part, well played by Texas, because it was obviously starting to heat up that LSU was going to hire Lane Kiffin back in November. I think that went final. What was it, Moose? Like the last day of November, first day of December.
Yep.
He committed the 29th of November. So kudos to Texas and Sark for saying, hey, look, my buddy's about to grab this job. Let me go ahead and do what we can to get the number 1 receiver in the country. It was kind of back and forth, but had watched a struggling LSU offense and sold him on Arch Manning, all this, what they're doing at the program at the moment, the guys they have behind him, and Easton got on board. But I've still stuck with it. I think that signing day 6-7 months away, Moose, this offense is putting up more than 25 points a game, which they couldn't do against an FBS opponent last year. If they look anything like the offenses that they had in Oxford, a wide receiver like Easton Royal is going to be far more attracted to that than he was the Brian Kelly era offense, at least what we saw from a year ago. So this weekend, massive, coming in with his mom, everybody else. But look, Texas still has an official. Florida's hanging around. Summerall's trying to get really involved, and Florida's sort of backing Summerall on the NIL front to get some elite high school guys. But I think it's an LSU-Texas battle, and probably Florida in that mix, but I think that kind of tapers off as time goes on. But if you want to talk biggest recruits in the country that are ever going to visit LSU this cycle, proximity included, Easton Royal makes an easy case to be tied for number 1 on that list.
Another guy we talked about on the show last week, Shea, is Marquez Davis, cornerback, kind of Corey Raymond's sleeper hidden gem. And I know you and both Sam Spiegelman put in predictions for him to LSU here today over at On 3, and he's going to be on campus this weekend as well.
Yeah, our rankings team at Rivals became the first ones to rank him, and they haven't gotten to see him in person. And most of he's getting recruited at corner, 6'3", north of 180. Coming out of Opelousas, but out of Northwest High, which the Raiders, shout out to them. I don't know if they've produced a caliber of a football player to go to LSU before. I've asked around, and folks in the area said they can't remember. So certainly not in the modern era of recruiting, but this is a kid who was 1,000-point scorer in basketball. UL and a number of other schools have offered for basketball, and then flashed at receiver this past year, ran some track, did all that. And that, as you said, the Corey Raymond special, the only thing missing here was he was unranked up until this past week. And then at Rivals, we ranked him, and how they kind of normally do it before they see a kid is they'll put a 3-star on him and then say, okay, if he's good enough for Corey Raymond, let's take a closer look at his film and dive deeper into it and put an appropriate ranking on him when the time comes. I'd rather have just been unranked through signing day. That's your ultimate Corey Raymond guy, a kid who's even when you go to his Rivals profile, it's him in a basketball jersey. So this is your developmental type where, look, they're swinging for the fences. Even with Josh Dobson out, they're swinging for the fences with some refined, high-level corners that can come in and play. And Davis would be more of a guy you develop. But I'm not saying this like he's going to be a top 10 pick, but Mo Claiborne would be that comp. I mean, he came out of Fair Park and Shreveport, played every position, played every sport, wasn't ranked, ended up a 3-star. Well, you look up at the end of it, and he's bumped up the rankings. He's deciding to play receiver or corner. 3 years later, he's the number 6 pick in the draft coming out of LSU at corner. So we've seen this happen before. Louisiana is one of the few states that has hidden gems like this just kind of sitting around, that if you can find them and identify them and develop them, these can be Sunday football players.
We've got the picture of him up from Rivals on the screen right now with him in the basketball jersey. We'll see if Corey Raymond can get that one across the finish line. Another 5-star that's going to be on campus, Shea, is out of Pennsylvania, edge rusher Abraham Cisse. Am I pronouncing that correctly, Cisse?
Yes, yeah.
What can you tell us there?
Yeah, he's a kid out of Pennsylvania. Plays at Downington East in Downington, but a guy who a lot of people have thought Notre Dame was kind of the team maybe that was out front early on, a few months back, kind of as his recruitment began in the spring. Steve Wiltfong, Sean Fitz at our Penn State site, who Penn State's in it, being a Pennsylvania kid, they put their picks on Notre Dame. But he said, hey, I am going to go look around at all my options. And this is a guy that Sterling Lucas, remember, what is he the only addition? The one addition on defense? Chris Kiffin at linebacker, I guess. But
yeah,
Sterling Lucas came in, joins Kevin Peoples. They're coaching the D line. But he was at South Carolina recruiting all of those talented edge rushers that have been through there in recent years, including Dylan Stewart. So he knows that DMV area up the coast into Pennsylvania, and has been on him for a while now. So Moose, I would say this is that one where, I mean, he's the number 2 edge rusher in the country. He's a 5-star. He's not from this area. You get him in town and you just swing for the fences. And look, we've seen it before. We've seen guys from that neck of the woods come down this way. Look, even I don't remember what he was ranked at the time, but Tashawn Bauer was a New Jersey kid.
Yeah,
that was a top 5 or 10 D lineman and came down to LSU. So they'll go national, but only I think if it's these type of elite players. And I guess a kid who's ranked number 16 overall, regardless of position, and number 2 edge, and he's 6'5", and he's 225, and he's a junior in high school, about to be a senior. So you'll go for that one. So that 2 5-stars, him and Easton Roll coming in this weekend. 2 of the 4 visitors being 5-stars.
Shea, so as we said, it's a big official visiting weekend over at LSU. We're talking with Shea Dixon. Shea, is there anybody who was expected to be at LSU that's not going to make the trip this weekend, or did they get them all on the boat?
Yeah, the one guy out of Georgia, Jeremiah Culpepper, is a 4-star linebacker. He's not been super heavy on LSU. He's largely considered an Auburn lean. Had thought about coming in this weekend, but isn't. And we'll see if he doesn't move it back to another date. But I did think it was notable very early on. Amari Patterson, who's a receiver out of South Carolina, is a guy who's talked up LSU a good bit, Florida, South Carolina, Georgia. I mean, a lot of SEC schools are recruiting him, but he's visited LSU a number of times and is high on this new staff, and said he was coming this weekend. And now, that was probably a month and a half ago. Well, in that time, Moose, Easton Royal scheduled his visit for this weekend. And I think LSU, in my opinion, wisely said, hey, look, Amari, let's visit another weekend. If you're rolling out the red carpet, right, for Easton Royal, and you're doing all you can, all hands on deck, no need to have another receiver there. You've already got 2 committed right now for this class. Can you get a third in Easton? Can you get a 4th in Miguel Whitley over at St. Aug? Then you feel great about things, right? I mean, the rest would be lane yaps. So they shifted that. Just 1 wide receiver visitor this weekend, and it'll be Easton Royal. And we'll see if they don't come back around to Amari Patterson at some point. But other than that, just 1 more guy. And I say he's a safety. He's a top 5 safety. But Adrian Cole, top 100 player out of Georgia, who playing in Douglasville, everyone thinks he's going to sign with Kirby. But again, much like Cisse, you just take your swing. He's a top 5 safety on Rivals. He's great size, north of 6 foot, 190 to 200 as a junior in high school, about to be a senior, and plays in a good area, talent-rich area. So a guy that we're really high on at Rivals, and I know that LSU staff seems to be pretty high on him. And this is one of those weekends you get guys like that in town, and see if you can't just kind of grab some momentum maybe that can carry you into the summer.
Hey, we need somebody swinging for the fences this weekend, Shea. The Diamond Sports ended a little bit early around these parts, so
boo.
we need somebody out there swinging for the fence.
Yeah, what are you doing with your time these days? Hosting Matt's radio show for him? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying. I mean, talking to you, doing some recruiting, man. Football season never ends. Shea, last thing, and I'll get you out of here on this. A little bit of shuffling there in the quarterback room for LSU over the weekend. T. Martin's son, Caden Martin, added Emil Picarella, seeks another option, going to go to Delta State. Any thoughts there on the move?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're swapping kind of the fourth quarterback who now that you're over 100 scholarships, I mean, I don't even know if these guys are walk-ons anymore, right? Like you might be catching some sort of scholarship, obviously, but I also remember them being kind of high on Emil Picarella as like at the time a walk-on. So remember he had moved down here, went to U High, all of that, but I don't know where the decision was made, right, on what end, but I think obviously for Emil, it's a chance at playing time, and then getting Martin in. His dad's here as a coach now, T. Martin, and if I'm not mistaken, right, Moose, he had bounced around and played a little baseball, and then he had back to play some football, so this could have been one of those things where Picarella kind of said, hey, look, I have other opportunities, I want to explore them, and simultaneously they say, all right, well, if we need a fourth quarterback, T's son is available and can come down and can at least give us some scout team reps and stuff like that. But boy, it's like corner. Lane talks about corner depth being thin, and we're talking about like the fifth, sixth guys. If we're getting down to the fourth quarterback, we don't even need to be debating anything, right? Like it's as good as Lane is.
It's gonna be a problem.
And Charlie Weiss. I don't know where you're at right there. John Trey Kirkland, come on down. Taking direct snaps. Hey, we only need 11. That's the John Trey Kirkland motto.
There you go.
But so I think it's just about right. Well, best of luck to Emil, and hopefully, and I'm not a knock on anybody, but that no team has to get down to their fourth quarterback in a season when you just went out and grabbed 3 transfers that all are pretty highly coveted and for different reasons, whether it being the highest ranked quarterback, the 5-star that just left USC, or the top ranked quarterback coming out of the FCS level.
He is Shea Dixon on Twitter at Shea Dixon on 3. The Bengal Tiger, massive official visiting weekend over at LSU. Keep it locked with Shea and on 3 for all your recruiting needs. Shea, we appreciate it as always, man. We'll do it again next week.
Appreciate it, Moose.
All right, that is Shea Dixon. This is After Further Review here on a Tuesday, presented by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. We're due for a break, go around the SEC, but first, word from Matt on Evermore.
Brought to you by Evermore. Drink Evermore, EVAMOR, Evermore.com, Evermore.com. For elite athletes, for someone who just wants a healthier lifestyle. Maybe you're a parent, you want a healthier option for your children. Evermore is a great option. I would highly encourage you, bottom line, if you're drinking tap water, don't. Bare minimum, filter your tap water. But the best option is Evermore. This is natural artesian water. It's underground aquifers on the north shore of Lake Pontchartrain, right there in Covington. They dug a well into that aquifer, and I mean, it's literally thousands of years in the making. That's why they call it Mother Nature's masterpiece. That's what they're pulling out of the ground. The only filtration is take like the sediment from the ground out of the water, and it goes right into the bottle. So it never touches air until you uncap it, take that first delicious sip. Learn more where you can buy it, great retailers or online, EVAMOR, Evermore.com.
Still got a lot to do here on AFR on this Tuesday. I kind of want to set up the offseason for LSU baseball, just where they stand now, a week out from the transfer portal opening with the roster. So we'll look at the pitchers, we'll look at the position players all throughout the show. Pels introduced Jamal Mosley, Andrew Lopez still to come, Ross Jackson still to come. But next, we'll go around the SEC. Stick around. It's AFR presented by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
AFR.
AFR is brought to you by the Watermark Hotel and the Renaissance Hotel, 2 beautiful hotel properties in Baton Rouge, the Watermark downtown, the Renaissance Southtown right there on Bluebonnet. And when it comes to hosting your event, both the Watermark and the Renaissance are perfect. The Watermark is a gorgeous, elegant spot in downtown Baton Rouge. That wedding reception, that smaller gathering, that meeting space, they can do it. They've kept so much of the history and tradition of that iconic building while modernizing it. The Gregory is a great restaurant inside of the Watermark as well. And then, of course, the Renaissance Hotel. Southtown, right there on Bluebonnet in Baton Rouge. It's more modern. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous hotel property at the Renaissance Hotel where they have meeting space that can accommodate up to 500 people, 7,000 square foot of meeting space, perfectly located right off of Bluebonnet and I-10. It's the Watermark and the Renaissance Hotels in Baton Rouge.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
Always a pleasure to tell you about our friends at the Williamson Eye Center. Check them out online at williamsoneye.com. They've got locations all over the greater Baton Rouge area. On the Baton Rouge General Campus, I mean, you turn off a Bluebonnet onto Picardy, you make that right. And then right there at the stop sign, the building on the right, the first 2 floors, that's the Williamson Eye Center. State-of-the-art dry eye center, and it's full service. Of course, they have their state-of-the-art surgery center there where you can have your LASIK or whatever surgical procedure you're having. But they have your standard annual eye exam as well at the Williamson Eye Center. Learn more at williamsoneye.com. The thing I tell you every day is take the advice that I was given and change your life. To give yourself the gift of sight is absolutely incredible. If you're someone like me who spent your life with contacts or glasses, there is a way to be done with it forever. WilliamsonEye.com. Go see Dr. Blake Williamson for that free consultation. 924-2020, 924-2020, or WilliamsonEye.com for the Williamson Eye Center.
All right, yesterday, Monday, was Memorial Day, which means it was also Selection Day for the NCAA baseball tournament. I'm going to give you some thoughts on that. We'll go around the SEC here momentarily. Yes, of course, look, it was odd to sit there at 11 a.m. on Monday and watch the selection show and just know that LSU's name was not going to pop up there. But, I mean, we don't need to rehash that. We all kind of understand how odd and weird that is when you saw it on social media from just about everybody. But I do have some thoughts on the field of 64 that was released. And honestly, by and large, I thought the committee did a good job. There's a few things that I have an issue with that I'll get into. But I think it's very clear to see that the 2 biggest deciding factors for this committee were RPI and strength of schedule, which makes sense. Those go hand in hand. Okay. I mean, like RPI is your record, your opponent's records, and your opponent's records. So strength of schedule is a huge metric inside of RPI, so it makes sense that those both go hand in hand. When you saw a team, take Mercer, for example, Mercer, who had a top 30 RPI and 44 wins on the season, many thought would be an at-large bid out of the Southern Conference there. Yes, they had a great RPI. They had the wins. Their strength of schedule was 118, and they didn't get in, right? Contrast that with Troy, who was the last team in the field. They were Team 64. Well, their RPI was 35. They went 32-29, but their strength of schedule was 8th. Like, so you can see that kind of contrast there. And while, yes, I think Mercer should have gotten in, I also love that Troy was rewarded. The host battle between Arkansas and Mississippi State. I thought Arkansas playing themselves into the SEC championship, ending up with 18 quad 1 wins, 20 aggregate SEC wins, and a series victory over Mississippi State would give them the edge. It didn't. State had the better RPI. State had the better strength of schedule. Like State was better in DSR. They were better in KPI. Like every metric, State had that. I simply thought because of the quad 1 wins and again the SEC wins and the head-to-head that Arkansas would get it. They didn't. Okay, I'm fine with that. Like I certainly have no problem with Mississippi State hosting the regional in Starkville. I would have had no problem with Arkansas hosting the regional in Fayetteville. You were splitting hairs there. One of those teams was always going to be disappointed because West Virginia, who also snuck in as a host, literally the 16th seed, they probably weren't going to be left out either. They had 21 wins in the regular season in the Big 12, a top 20 RPI, a better RPI than Arkansas. So you were splitting hairs really right there with State and Arkansas, and somebody was always going to be disappointed, so I'm fine there. The real gripe that I have, and then I do have a note on LSU with this as well, but the real gripe that I have is Kentucky getting in. Kentucky got to 13 conference wins. That's great. Kentucky's RPI, 37. I mean, that's not awesome for 13 conference wins. They went one and done in the SEC tournament, losing to Vanderbilt. They won 2 SEC weekends all year. Save me that they didn't get swept. I don't care. Kentucky lost SEC weekends to Missouri, South Carolina, and LSU. That's the three teams that finished, the three worst teams in the league. That's where those finished. You lost series to all of them. Yes, you swept Alabama, who's a top 8. That's a great feather in your cap. Yes, you took a series from Tennessee, who's a 2 seed. But that's it. And again, you lost series to the worst teams. You went 1-3 against Vanderbilt, who finished with 14 conference wins. But again, it shows you RPI and head-to-head. Like, the RPI is going to trump that. I would have voted Kentucky out. Like, if I was on the committee, I would have voted Kentucky out. Solely because, I'm sorry, you cannot win 2 conference weekends and get in and lose to the 3 teams that finished at the bottom of your league. That's just, like, that's egregious. At some point, what your eyes show you is more significant than their RPI and them getting to the threshold of 13 wins. Because, again, Vanderbilt, who beat them 3 times, and I understand Vanderbilt's RPI is horrible. I'm not saying that Vanderbilt should have gotten in. I'm just saying, like, that team beat them 3 times, had more SEC wins, and was left out. So I'm completely off on Kentucky getting into this field, but whatever. The last thing, and we'll go around the SEC quickly. LSU's non-conference schedule that everybody complained about certainly ended up looking a lot better, didn't it? Northeastern, that club ends up winning 38 games and knocking off Campbell twice to win the conference tournament and get the automatic bid. Milwaukee, they go ahead, they win their league, they get in as a 4 seed. And then ULL, 39 wins, they get in. And then you look at a team like Kent State, who had 40 wins. They got left out because they lost their conference champion. They lost their conference tournament. Same thing with Bethune-Cookman. Bethune-Cookman won 38 games. UCF ended up being a really nice win for LSU. They got in. It can look pretty crappy on paper. But, man, it's all about those win totals. And you saw a lot of those teams win a lot of games. You'll see it pretty similar for LSU next year. Strength of schedule ended up ranked 11th to end the year. That's my thoughts on the NCAA tournament. Baseball gets started on Friday, Regional Friday, May 31st. All right, let's do it quickly. Let's go around the SEC.
Around the SEC, bringing you the biggest news from the nation's best conference. The Auburn Tigers.
Auburn lands offensive lineman Rance Brown out of the state of Tennessee. He chose the Tigers over Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, Virginia Tech, and North Carolina. 6'6", 290 pounds, 9th commit for Auburn's 2027 class, the 3rd offensive lineman, a 3-star, ranks as the 71st player at his position.
The Kentucky Wildcats.
Mark Pope gets good news. Malachi Marino has withdrawn from the NBA draft. He will return to Kentucky. All SEC freshman honors in year 1. Potential first-round pick in June's draft. He worked out for actually all 30 of the NBA franchises. 36 games, 30 starts, averaged 7 and 6 with 11 double-figure scoring games.
The Arkansas Razorbacks.
And former 4-star center Maper Maker. That is fun to say. Maper Maker, a former 4-star center, commits to John Calipari and Arkansas. Was the number 27 overall center in the country in the 2025 recruiting class. Then he went and played prep ball in Australia. Dropped 35 in their most recent game to complete a 4-0 weekend. They played in a tournament in Arizona. So big get there for John Calipari in a 7-foot, 215-pound center named Maper Maker. He'll play for the Hawks. That's around the SEC. This is AFR on a Friday, presented by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Musso in for Moscona. Scone is back tomorrow. And boy, we already have a jam-packed show for you on Wednesday as well. And have some very special guests in studio, courtesy of Our Lady of the Lake. We'll tell you more about that as the show goes along and as we get a little bit deeper. But tomorrow's shaping up to be a really big day as well in Matt's return. Right now, we're going to grab a break. We will come back on the other side. A former LSU assistant coach turned head coach is now getting another job and a really big opportunity at the Power 4 level. We'll tell you about that next to close out hour number 1 of AFR.
After further review.
Let's Rev, R-E-V, letsrev.com, letsrev.com. You ever just get super frustrated at super slow internet? Oh, we've all been there, man. The little spinning wheel, slamming your keyboard or your mouse, pounding the desk because it's so frustrating. Your internet's so slow. Storm comes, knocks the power out, knocks the internet out, knocks the cable out. You're so frustrated. Maybe that's just me because I get kind of angry about things. But it's annoying. Nobody wants that to happen. Rev can help. They're local and 5 gigs, lightning fast speeds, and backed by an all-fiber network. Fiber. It's buried under the ground. I mean, you don't have to worry about a storm coming, knocking the power lines down. Let's Rev. Listen, more than 70,000 Louisiana homeowners and business owners trust Rev. You should as well. REV. 90 years of local experience. Let'sRev.com. Let'sRev.com.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
AFR is brought to you by Parish Restoration. Kill mold, remove odor, other harmful pathogens, commercial or residential. As a matter of fact, Parish Restoration, I love the process, by the way. If you go to the website at parishrestoration.com, you can see videos of their patented non-toxic dry fog treatment. So you see exactly what it looks like. Very cool. But they have fogged, over at Parish Restoration, they fogged one of the largest buildings in the entire state of Louisiana. So it doesn't matter if it's your office building, your church, whatever it may be, school, or your home. They can even fog your car. Maybe your car has a weird odor, musty smell. Maybe you bought a used car from a smoker and you can't get that smoky smell out. This will do it. They'll come while you're at work, fog it. By the time you're done with work for the day, boom, you're back in a clean-smelling, fresh-smelling vehicle. It's Parish Restoration. Learn more at parishrestoration.com. Parishrestoration.com. Do business with someone you know. Parishrestoration.com.
Really cool earlier today, if you didn't see this, the University of Houston announced Will Davis as their next head baseball coach. Of course, Will played at LSU under Smoke Laval and then Paul Maneri for one season. Came back to join Paul Maneri's staff, was an assistant coach on the 2009 national championship team, and he went to the World Series, College World Series as a player, won it as an assistant coach, and was with Coach Maneri through the 2015 season. I mean, really helped develop the catcher position fantastically. He was a very good recruiter for LSU as well. Just had a lot of success, and he went and took the job at Lamar. And awesome moment over the weekend. Lamar punched their ticket to the NCAA tournament for the very first time under Will Davis. He did an awesome job at Lamar. You're looking at 10 seasons there, 7 winning seasons, 6 straight winning seasons for Will Davis, including back-to-back 40-win seasons for the first time since 2003 and 2004. At Lamar, he won a Southland Conference title and then finally got over the hump, making it to the NCAA tournament this year. 289 wins, again, including 2 40-win seasons back-to-back at Lamar. He did a phenomenal job, and now he'll get an opportunity at the Power 4 level in the Big 12, which was the 3rd best RPI league in college baseball. So this is a big step up in competition for Will Davis, and an awesome opportunity, and one that he deserves. I mean, this is a guy who, paid dues as the assistant, had a lot of success at LSU, got the head job at Lamar, had opportunities to leave. I mean, after that 24 season when they went 44-15, he was a name to watch going into that 2025 season, and even again in this last coaching carousel. Now finally gets that big job. Houston is not an easy place to win. They don't invest a bunch, but I mean, Will Davis kind of feels like the perfect coach for that spot because they're going to ask him to do more with less. For what it's worth, the Houston Chronicle reporting that it's a 5-year deal, $425,000 annually there for Will Davis. Now at the Power 4 level with the Houston Cougars in the Big 12. Great opportunity. Again, one that he is very much earned with the success that he has had as an assistant at LSU, and obviously as the head man at Lamar. So congratulations there to Will Davis and the next step for him. For what it's worth, Houston actually went after another former LSU coach and player, and Nolan Cain, and Nolan turned that job down. He'll remain at Texas, and we'll see when Texas's run ends if another opportunity maybe comes up for Nolan. He's another hot name, obviously, in there with the success that he's had. Both at LSU and now in Austin with Jim Schlossnagle. So they were just destined to hire a former LSU guy. But congrats to Will Davis. All right, we're going to grab a break, come back on the other side. Sports Center will get you caught up on the national headlines, and then we'll dive into the LSU baseball offseason. And we're going to start with the pitchers. And boy, what a conversation this is when you look at who might be back, who's draft eligible, who is gone, who's coming in, portal, all of those things. We'll dive into the LSU pitching staff and the future of it next here on AFR.
After further review.
Love telling you about Arco Power Systems, ARCCO, arco.com, arco.com. That's Arco Power Systems. We talk about generators a lot in Louisiana, especially all along the Gulf Coast, where we're sort of in this storm belt right here in the Gulf Coast. Well, of course, a lot of people have home standby generators. When we talk about Arco Power Systems, these are not home standby generators. This is industrial generator power. This is for your business. I mean, just think about it. When the power goes out, be it a hurricane, an ice storm, snow like we had last year, power goes out. What do you do with your business? Well, being offline is not an option. That's why you need Arco Power Systems. ARCCO, arco.com, arco.com, arco.com. Just look at all the locations. Baton Rouge, Bossier, Harvey, Lake Charles, Mandeville, Mobile, LaPorte, Texas, San Antonio, Little Rock, Houston, Dallas. They're everywhere. So if you're a business and you need standby power for your business, you need Arco Power Systems. ARCCO, arco.com, arco.com, arco.com.